The following program was produced by an independent community producer. The opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect those of the ECAT staff or board of directors.
There's a girl, she's a star, she's got style, Steffi Star. You see her face around the town, she's popular, Steffi Star.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Weinstein.
And I'm Meredith Keach.
And we have a top-notch real estate team of 11 people over at Coldwell Banker in Easton. And we are number one in Easton.
Salesforce.
We don't like to brag. We don't like to brag.
Under the tutelage of
my girl crush.
Totes. I'm like
Right?
a little nervous.
We don't even know what to say. There is greatness in the room for this podcast today. I might be tongue-tied. But we want to welcome the famous, the gorgeous Angela. Angela, introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Angela STAMOULOS, and I have the pleasure of working with top real estate agents like Stephanie and Meredith as my full-time career.
Amazing.
And I'm blessed because you're all amazing. And I'm flattered and very intrigued to see how this goes.
Angela doesn't know what the hell's going on. She's like, what are we talking about? We said, we don't know.
Well, I'm so happy
Right.
you wore color, and it's beautiful color.
Thank you.
Gorgeous.
I feel like I
Yes.
should have blended into the background with the black.
No.
Well, you
red-
kind of did. I mean, the muted top. I mean, but you got the punch of color under it, and I absolutely
And
love
my
it.
fancy earrings, I had to take them off.
I know.
because-
Yeah, it's a lot. You know, Angela had a whole thing. She had the hair. She was
Yeah.
trying the headphones underneath the hair, then
Yeah.
on top of the hair.
Yeah.
Then the earrings were
Yes.
hurting, so then she had to take the earrings off. It was a whole thing.
Chair needed to be a certain level.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But hopefully you're comfortable now.
I am. Thank you.
And that's the beauty of the headphones, right? I mean, that's the beauty of the podcast is once you put those headphones on, if you're someone who likes to talk to people, you don't hear anything else. It's
No, this is
wonderful.
fabulous. It's
Yeah.
actually, yes.
Isn't it great?
I feel like it's a spectator. I'm supposed to be the guest speaker. I'm like, what's going to happen next?
Yeah. We don't know what's going to happen.
Okay.
And we just love hearing our voices in these big microphones.
I have to say, though, I was a little excited and nervous about having you on. I mean, because so I've been a spectator of yours for so many years. I've worked for the company for 22, 23 years. And you're at least that long, maybe longer. How many years have you worked for the company?
2004.
Okay, so it's 2001. And I remember you coming in all the different capacities that you worked in training, if I remember. And were you with USAA for
No, so
Relo or something?
no, I was training.
Okay,
So
training, yeah.
I started. So my career started from fine arts. I was an artist. Then I went to school for creative arts therapy. And I I was a therapist for a while. Then I went back for a second master's in instructional systems design and development, which is a fancy way of saying corporate training and development.
No wonder. Okay. This is all starting to make sense.
Then I worked with Accenture, Anderson Consulting. It's a big consulting firm. So I worked in change management, and they used to call us chicks with slides.
Oh my gosh. Change management.
Yeah, so it's really, I used to work with organizations that were, big, huge, like Fortune 500 organizations that would implement any kind of big change, either systems or reorg or whatever. So I was the people side of change. So I would meet with the leadership team, the stakeholders, and kind of do a needs analysis, understand the impact, and help people kind of manage the change.
Wow. And then how'd you come here?
So after September 11th, I just didn't want to travel anymore. And in consulting, you have to travel a lot. And I just wanted to be closer to my family who was in Massachusetts. I was in Philly when I was consulting. And so I went to a real estate office and I said, I just want to find out about this thing. And they were like, sign here. I was like, okay. So I did become the top agent in the office my second year in the business. So
Obviously, the second year.
it just kind of, it was something that came naturally to me. And then because of my training background, Coldwell Banker contacted me to take in a training role. So I did that, and I got involved with curriculum development. Then they moved me up to manager of training, then the director of training for the New England area. Then I was moved into management in the Back Bay to co-manage with Ken Tatunjian. Then after, Ken.
We love Ken. Yes.
I didn't realize you co-managed with Ken.
Mm-hmm.
Ken has his own gravity system.
We need to have Ken on too.
Whenever you see
absolutely
him, there's like planets moving around him. He's an incredible human being.
Ken is an artist in the relationship front, and he has like the magic touch and his history. I mean, he works in the high end, obviously, because of the Back Bay as a manager, but he has an art history background, so he understands a lot. Like when he goes into the home of a high-end client, he can actually like pick out all this like exclusive kind of elusive
stuff,
paraphernalia, whatever art they might have. So yes, it's a very unique strength he has. The Boston market is a very intense market, so multifaceted. Each one of the condo complexes could be like a little city. Just like it's a lot to learn. So his tenure in the business is like unmatched. He would be a great guest for you.
Well, yeah, ask him to come.
I'll be texting him immediately.
So yeah.
So wait. So then, all right. So you were co-managing with Ken.
With Ken,
and I was one of our highest producing offices.
Yes, in the Back Bay, which is like the crown jewel. Yeah. Then I was offered the opportunity. I used to live in Belmont, so
that's right.
I was given the opportunity to manage on my own 2 offices in Belmont. Then I was given the opportunity because I fell in love with Rhode Island. I started investing in Rhode Island in 2012, and I ended up building a house there. And I would go every chance I get, like every weekend I would be in Rhode Island. And our president, who have you had Pauline on here?
No, not yet.
You're kind of our test, Angela.
We'll see how this goes. If it doesn't go well, then forget it.
So Pauline gave me the opportunity to be the district manager of the state of Rhode Island and also run 2 offices there, East Greenwich and Newport. And then after that, I was given the opportunity to be the regional vice president of Southeastern Mass and Rhode Island. And that brings us to today.
It's amazing.
I mean, I'm exhausted.
I know.
You've had so many positions, amazing opportunities.
You know what? I was talking with somebody last week, I think. It's amazing how you can impact people's lives without even realizing it. I remember I waitressed through school, right? And
we all did.
When I was still an undergrad, I think, or I was, I think it was an undergrad, I was waitressing, and these 2 gentlemen were, kind of chatting me up. They were older, and one of them said, "What are you going to do?" And I got all nervous. I was like, "I don't know. I'm in school, And the other man said, "Honey, think of your life in 5-year increments. It's so overwhelming when you think." When you think about your entire life, because every decision, at that age, is like, oh my God. That was the biggest gift. That was so liberating. It was just like an incredible thing to like, okay, it's not, every decision's not forever. Right. So it's interesting because my life has evolved, so it keeps changing. Like the path is like, looking back, I would have never been able to predict the path,
No, never.
What about you, Stephanie?
Angela, this is about you. Not about me today.
Well, because it's pretty exciting.
Dig deep. It's yes, and like I said, you've been such a role model for me since I met you at training. You just captured us. You held the audience.
Right.
And I learned so much.
Right. So true.
Thank you. I love my work, and I love the realtors that work for us. And I mean, I'm pretty tough. Like if I'm not.
There's no fooling around.
There's no easy.
If you don't look Angela in the eye, like if you kind of if you're talking to Angela and you kind of turn your head a little bit, she's the one that goes. She will make sure she's going to get your eye again. There is no fooling around, which I love. I love a straight shooter.
Yeah.
You're just a boss, and I love it. And we all look up to you.
Yeah.
I mean, Brooke and Bernoni, Alexa, they're like, we are obsessed with Angela.
Yes.
And they're like, we want a private meeting with Angela. You're just so empowering. That's what it is.
Well, for a woman too, there doesn't women like you don't come along often. And I remember when Pat Villarney was my RVP.
Oh, right.
And, you know, in our world, for those who are listening, a regional vice president of Coldwell Banker is a big position. We don't have a lot of them. You report to the president, and like the president of our company. Like that to me is like, oh my God, I get nervous. My hands get sweaty. Just because that's our world, right? You know, of people who are important to us. And we don't work as real estate agents, as independent contractors. We don't work in what one would consider a normal corporate structure, right? Because we kind of go about our own business on a day-to-day basis. But those of us who love the Coldwell Banker structure, so that we can reach to folks like you. And so to have a regional vice president or a trainer who captivates your attention is very rare. And so we are just so excited to have you here, because we've at least I certainly have watched you kind of progress through the ranks of Coldwell Banker. No surprise. So to now have you as our RVP is, we wonder, you know, we're always like, well, who's it going to be? You know, because when you're with a company for a long time, you don't know, you know,
Right.
and some you connect with and some you don't. And so we're psyched to have you. It's
Thank you.
like, especially for our whole team, we're like female dominant. So
Right,
for
and
the
now-
females on our team to have another female, not that men don't, you can't aspire to, but
We
it's
love
pretty
you,
cool.
Joe. Don't worry.
Yes.
I think so. Female role models, I think that's extremely important. I grew up in a blue collar family, right? So I'm Greek American. I was born in the States, but then moved to Greece when I was 1. I came back when I was 11. So I remember, and back then it was, you know, we were fully matriculated into the school system. I hardly spoke English. I knew the alphabet. I mean, I could understand more than I spoke. But I remember how difficult it was for my parents. They were not educated, right?
Mhm.
And they to kind of introduce themselves into American society and understand how to navigate the system. And my mother was an entrepreneur, really not educated, not being able to speak English, and she started her own business. She had a Greek music and gift shop. So she was a huge role model as far as kind of strength and navigating through uncertainty. And I remember when my sister first went to college, she went to Bentley, and she got a kind of a corporate job. She was in computer programming. And I remember driving by kind of a corporate office building, and I was like, you know, because my background, I mean, we were, my family did not come from corporate America. So it was, so being a woman and also not having the background of, you know, kind of knowing the ropes and having the network, it was kind of an extra challenge. So I think for me, creating opportunities for women and empowering women is just huge. It excites me. I think being an entrepreneur, which, you know, real estate agents are, like you said, it is such a special, it's an amazing road to take, but it can also be very scary, and there's no roadmap for it, right? And people can get lost. And I think when you said captivating, I'm convinced that if you're truly authentic and you truly care and you focus on the individual that you're trying to work with, and I don't let people off the hook. Like if people, when I was a manager and people would, you know, coach with me, the first couple of sessions of coaching were really kind of understand, like, who are you, right? What, you know, what's natural to you, what motivates you, what's authentic, and then matching that with a marketing plan and a strategy to help you kind of get your business off the ground, right? But after a few sessions, like, I would hold people accountable, and I would say, this isn't therapy. Like, we're not, like, this isn't therapy hour. Like,
Yes.
there's a specific goal that I'm hoping you're trying to accomplish by being in this business, right? So I've always been true to myself and my voice and my focus on really truly doing what's best for individuals that are working with me at the time. So
Wow. I just got a lot from that.
Folks, that's the show. Thank you for coming. Wow.
Yeah. Well, Stephanie and I having the position of mentoring now with our team, I think we get to share some of that experience. And it really is amazing to be able to take part in and witness someone's success, right?
Yeah,
when
absolutely.
they say, this is what I want to do. And you can watch them grow. I mean, it's really second to none, really. It's incredible. I mean, I do it with my children, right? You know, that's the greatest gift of life. But to be able to share that as well, and certainly if you were in training, you know, you were a teacher, you can see people grow in that capacity.
So it's actually interesting. Training is a very different thing. Training is more kind of talking to people and telling people things, delivering. It's more of a one-way thing. Coaching for me is a completely different avenue. It's important if you're going to be a coach that you obviously have knowledge, right? To communicate. But coaching and empowering individuals is really much more about allowing them to truly find their true center and helping them shift their mindset sometimes. It's, for me, coaching 90% of the time is not about giving somebody the answer at all. And it sounds kind of cliche, you hear about that, but the most empowering part of coaching is to ask enough questions to get information, right? Because, I mean, I've managed and trained for years. So agents would come like, this is the issue. What's your answer? And I would be like, I know this much of the like what you told me. Like, if I answer you this, I can give you an answer. You're going to go out and make the wrong decision because I don't have enough of context.
Right. Yes, I agree.
So by the 10th question,
yeah,
the answer would just kind of reveal them to themselves, right? They would be like, oh, okay, I guess this is the answer. I'm like,
right.
Yes. Because sometimes we become mono-focused,
Yes.
especially when our emotions get triggered. If you're in a tense situation or something that has stakes, either financial stakes, personal interaction, or reputation, you know, when you're an independent contractor, all those things come to play. So when we're put into a difficult situation that becomes emotionally charged, we lose our ability to really creatively and objectively think of the situation, and we make wrong decisions.
So
right?
true.
Yeah.
Right. You need to sit back.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. We would go to Roy hysterically.
Yeah.
Right. And he'd be like, take a minute. And then we would figure out our own problem.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. So true.
It's really about unlocking those parts of your mind that allow you to see the problem. Because when we becoming emotionally engaged, we just shut down our focus and we only focus on that thing that's triggering us. And
So
not
what are we supposed to do? We've got this huge problem engulfing us. What should we do?
It's really dissecting the problem, and unless you're like a master Zen kind of meditator, it probably involves speaking with somebody else, right?
Right.
Kind of bouncing it out and
Right.
having somebody who's not going to be a tell you what to do type of person, or someone that's going to be a yes person, right? Somebody who can truly allow you to dissect the problem by understanding all different facets, not just the one involved with your ego.
I think we do that.
Well, you
In
and
our
I do
business.
that. Right. You and I do that a lot.
Yeah.
And then we just talk it out.
Yeah.
And then that's it. We figure
Right.
it out. We're like,
Right.
okay, bye.
Yeah.
We hang up.
And there's trust involved. See,
Right.
there's a lot of trust and authenticity that's natural, right? The
Right.
two of you have such chemistry and trust.
Yeah.
So there's I'm assuming there's no ego involved when you kind of
No.
go back
No.
and
Yeah.
forth, right?
Right.
So that allows you to unlock the restriction of your problem solving.
Right.
Yeah.
It was a little hard at the beginning, Meredith, right? When we first joined forces.
Yeah.
Not hard, but it was just like,
Again, further trust building.
Yeah.
Yeah. And because you just don't know if it's going to work. And you have to check your ego at the door.
Right.
I think so far in a partnership.
Oh, 100%.
How did you all first meet?
Oh, you want to hear this?
Yes.
Okay. This is a good one. No, it's Stephanie. Okay. So back, it had to have been 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 10
Yeah, at
years ago,
least.
because I had 3. And so Susan Johnson hosted our holiday party. And she's an amazing host and has this great house. I had 3 babies at home. But I felt I needed to go to this party. And I was newer to the Easton office at that point. And so I had a small window to go.
Because you were out of the Canton office, weren't you? Were you? No, you
I
were
was
with
Canton and Mansfield,
Okay.
then Easton. Mansfield was closed in the
That's right.
downturn, but I was with Canton for almost a decade.
Wow.
And then came to Easton. And this was back when ugly Christmas sweaters were not like as trendy as they are today.
I don't know about them ever being trendy, Meredith.
Probably not. Anyway, so I donned an ugly Christmas sweater, entertaining myself, thinking this will be funny. And so at one point I sat next to Joe Papagno and I looked at him and said, nobody knows my sweater's a joke, do they? He goes, they don't, and I'm enjoying every minute of it.
I love it.
And in walked this woman in a strapless black sequins jumpsuit, looking
So fabulous.
stunning.
I got it at BB.
Stunning.
Back when I could fit into
And
BB
I
clothes.
go, oh my God, I need to become friends with her because she just was so much fun and just exuded that and confidence and just had fun with herself. And that was it. And I made it my mission to become friends with you.
Meanwhile, I had only been with the company for like 3 months.
Yeah.
Were you a new agent?
I was a new agent.
Yeah.
Brand new.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish there was a picture of you with the ugly sweater and you with the sequins.
I mean,
That would be
but it's
priceless.
just like, that's totally our personalities.
Yes.
You know, today.
Yes.
It's just, Meredith is business and she meets with everyone to do their business plans. And then me, I'm like, let's manifest. I'm like, anyone that doesn't want to do a business plan with Meredith and be questioned by Meredith head to toe and talk about the ebbs and flow of real estate, come over to me and we're going to manifest together.
Yes.
And so we have such opposite personalities that it's perfect.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
really perfect. It works well.
Mhm.
And
It's
then,
very special. It's
Oh,
not,
it is. Yeah.
It's
right,
not-
because some people were nervous. Some managers were like, "Oh, are you sure you girls
Yeah.
want to do that? Because
Yep.
it's you're different. You both have some egos, but we think it's going to work, but you better make sure."
But it wasn't out of the blue. I mean, we had the show for a decade.
Yeah. So when I've had this show. I had another group of people that I was going to do the show with.
She asked everybody but me.
Yeah,
I was
so
not her first
I didn't
choice.
even
I
know
was the
Meredith.
last.
So I
Yeah.
had other people that we were going to do it, and it was on TV. It was going to be filmed, on the cable station. And so we had, Heath that wrote the song, and I had my friend Jody, and I had my friend Marissa. And then when it came down to it, they're like, "We're too scared." I'm like, "What?" So then nobody would do it with me. So then I said, "Meredith, will you be my co-star on the show?"
And I said, yes, but I need to give birth first.
Yeah.
And
So she
then I will
gave
come.
birth, and then we started the show. I was just doing some cable stuff for ECAP before then. And so we had so much fun on the show.
And we've shared a lot of listings together too, done sales together. So
This is what I get from Meredith. Hey, she's like, "Do you want to share an overpriced listing with me?" I'm like, "Sure." Sure. I don't get anything good, Angela. I mean, let's face it.
This is true.
Right. And we have a lot of laughs, together. And so we were always sharing listings, and everybody actually thought we were a team when we weren't.
Yeah.
And so I had my little team, she had her little team, and we're all so friendly in the office.
But we're
Absolutely.
information sharers.
Yeah.
Right. We're
They're
not secret agents.
agents.
Yeah. We don't
Yeah.
hold we share any knowledge we have, we like to share it. And we certainly like to share our listings and not hold them.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Secret.
You should.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The culture of the office is really, I think, so connected to the top agents of the office. That's always been my philosophy. If you want to understand the ecosystem of a real estate office, you just look at who the top influencing
right.
personalities
Yeah.
are, right?
Yeah.
And I love the two of you, and I love the culture of the Eastern office. I think it's really
it is.
connected.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're arranging on our own a fall fling.
We are. Yeah. Well, I asked for permission.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
From
She did.
Angela?
Yeah.
Oh. Thanks, Angela.
I was like, first task.
Right.
Make
Let's
sure it's
ask.
okay.
Make sure it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I having been in the business long enough, knowing that, in the summertime is our downtime, at least part of it. I think the season, which is a conversation, the spring market has moved, right, from moves into July now, right? Where it would end in June for so many years. But that's kind of, as agents are like, breather time. Oh my God, the spring market is so busy and so much fun, but you need a little break, and you need to bring the agents back in.
Yeah.
Right. I certainly need to be brought in. So I went yesterday and went seasonal fall shopping for the office and like to get like pumpkins and smells and whatever.
We should do carving pumpkin. Carving pumpkins.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Fine.
Yes, we'll do it.
We'll do anything.
And then asking, and right, we broker bait, which is food. So to have, and meeting days are the perfect days because everybody kind of connects in, and you can use it as a perfect opportunity to not like somebody sponsors it or does that or anything, but just kind of your first meeting to like, just let's break bread. Let's have something to eat and sit down. And how was your summer? How are you? What's going on in your life? And as such social people, I think we love that.
Absolutely. I remember I came to the office one time. You all were having some chili cook-off
or
something. It was so fun.
Right. Who won that?
We all do that.
Yeah. I don't know.
I think
Was it
Suzanne
a tie?
Russo.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah, she's a great cook. I don't usually enter my food. I'm not the best.
Yeah, I didn't cook anything either.
But I think you're a good cook.
I think I am.
Are you a good cook, Angela?
My husband is. I can cook. I don't cook.
Oh,
So
okay.
And do you want to cook?
No.
Yeah, me either.
No.
I'm not really.
I usually bring the wine.
Yeah.
You know what? That's perfect. That's easy. It's perfect.
Yeah. I kind of wish I did, but I don't.
I do. I do wish. And I'm a very creative person, but I think food, because I grew up as a Greek female, there was a very much like you become a housewife, you learn how, old school Greek, right?
Sure.
So I think I rebelled against all of that. I associated a lot of kind of the housekeeping type of thing with the stereotype of what I was supposed to do. So I kind of wanted nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
What's your favorite Greek food?
Moussaka. I love the bechamel sauce.
Do you make lemon chicken soup?
Do I make it? No, I love it though.
Who in your family makes the best lemon chicken?
My mom. My mom's a great cook. All the stuff. When I used to grow up, she would make all the kind of authentic Greek food. Who remembers the first Eddie Murphy movie, Raw? Do you remember Raw?
Oh, yes. I remember crying, laughing as a teenager watching that.
Do you remember where he has this thing where he showed up in school with a big fat homemade burger?
Yes, with onions and peppers hanging out of it.
So, yeah, that's how I grew
you?
up. That was how I grew up. It was all kind of authentic, home-cooked stuff that we were all like, yeah, it's not cool. It's not McDonald's, whatever. But, now as an adult, how kind of important it is to just eat holistic and kind of natural and all that stuff. So, so we were blessed to have that. I was actually just talking with my friend about my big Greek fat wedding that's coming the third.
Yes. One was fantastic. Two was okay.
Yeah, two was
right?
okay.
Two was okay. But, if one... My father, so we went to the movie theater, and I don't know, you guys in podcast land, my dad's Greek. And we were in New York one time, and I'm like, Angela, can you please FaceTime my father? And my father, of course, he's trying to hit on her. He's trying to flirting to have, right? He starts flirting with her. I'm like, oh, God, give me the phone. I can't take it. Anyway, so I, even though I'm Jewish, I completely grew up Greek. I had a bat mitzvah with Greek food and bouzouki music. And so everyone's like, what do we do? I'm like, I don't know, just go with it. And so, anyway, so we went to the movie, my mother, my sister Nancy, myself, and my father. Well, I was crying.
Right.
So, Angela, tears, I couldn't breathe because he was my father. My father's like, I don't think this is funny at all.
So it's funny. We went, there was a whole bunch of us that were the same age, the kids, right? And we took our parents like, it was a big thing back then Greek Americans didn't get a lot of like movie, TV time. So for us, like a movie about the Greek culture. Huge. So all the kids sat in the front row and our parents were all sitting in the back row and we're laughing.
Dying.
Meanwhile, they're all upset. Like,
yes.
They were like, they're making fun of us.
Right.
It was the perspective was so different. Yeah.
I mean, I thought it was dead on, to be honest with you.
My favorite My favorite thing was the bun cake. I don't know. I cannot see a bun cake without imagining a little kind of pot with a flower in the middle of it.
Bunt? What's bunt?
What's that?
Right.
What's
Bunt.
that?
Did you get married in a traditional Greek ceremony with
Actually,
the changing
I
of the hat
I
thing?
did. So
Oh, I love it.
everybody asks me if my husband's Greek. He's French. He's French Canadian. And when he proposed to me, he asked me if I would get married in my mom's island. You know, my mom, of course, was like, I love him. So
His name isn't Ian, is it?
no, DeRosiers,
My-
Jim DeRosiers.
My big fat Greek wedding. He was remember he was Ian.
His family is actually very warm and loving and kind of it's not it's not like in the movie with Ian. So I arranged my entire wedding online. So Samos is a small little island. It's kind of it's a Greek island, but it's close to the Turkish coast. And I hadn't been there since I was a child. So,
Can I ask you where did you grow up those 10 years?
Athens.
Oh, you were in Athens. Okay.
Yeah.
I have family there. They speak English. He just called me the other day, cousin Billy.
Oh.
He on Facebook Messenger. I'm like, Billy?
Oh.
Sorry, Angela.
That's okay.
Go ahead.
So the island is called what? Samos?
Samos. Beautiful, beautiful. It's not too touristy. Tons of hiking, little shops. It's like magnificent, beautiful. And I love that it's not overdeveloped, right? So my husband fell in love with the Greek culture. We went to Santorini when we first started dating, and he made me kind of re-fall in love with my culture because I was seeing it through his eyes, you know. And I speak fluent Greek. And so when I was in the island, we went to Santorini together first. You know, you get to see behind the scenes. If you go with a local, and I would speak Greek to the people, and they would open up, and I would translate to him and whatever. So he was so thankful of seeing the real culture rather than just being a tourist, you know. So that's why he wanted to get married in Samos. So I found the photographer, the venue. I found a little church, a tiny little church on top of a mountain over the, it looked, when you see our
What
wedding
a fairy
photos,
tale.
if you see the wedding photos, I'm like, it looks like a fake poster behind us, but it's not. It's like beautiful. So
romantic.
Yeah, it was gorgeous.
How many people came?
We had about 25 to 30 people.
Wow.
We had some people from here and actually a lot. We have friends from here and family and some family from Greece. So it was a very small, very intimate, beautiful wedding. And even though the Greeks are known for like extravagant, like spending $150,000 on a wedding, like I'm very kind of
Keep it small.
grounded.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like $150,000. I'm going to buy a house. That's a down
Right,
payment.
right.
That's a down payment for an investment property.
Right. Absolutely.
So, yeah. So it was very, you know, we didn't have our we should invite these people because they invited us to, you know, I didn't want any of that craziness that happens a lot in the Greek culture.
Right.
So yeah, it was very intimate and beautiful.
Did you do the money?
Actually, yes, people did do the money. We went
What's
to
the money?
They throw dollar bills at you.
Oh, I love
when
it.
you're dancing. Yes,
It's-
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Well,
love
my
that.
cousin Christina Kapsaskis just married cousin Joshua Weinstein.
Oh, wow.
Can you imagine?
Oh.
She owns Tasso's restaurant in Norwood.
I've never, you told me about
You have
that.
to go.
I know,
you
I
have to go. And so one night we always went all the time. Every time my parents flew in from Florida, that was the first stop. We would have to go to Tasso's.
Oh, I'll
Wait,
take
do
my
they do
mom.
lunch?
Yeah.
Well, let's go for lunch.
Oh yeah, we'll have to go for lunch.
Yeah, we'll go for lunch.
And every time my father would walk in, he pretends he owns the place, right? Wherever he walks in, wherever there's Greeks.
Yeah.
And then, so anyway, we had dinner one day, and she's like, "I have a crush on Josh Weinstein." I'm like, "What?" Next thing I know, is a big fat Greek wedding. It was amazing. So they did the dollar bills.
Was this the recent one that you guys
This
went
was
to?
the recent one. Well, yeah, it was last year.
Yeah, it's
It was
awesome.
last year, and now there might be a cute Greek boy that Christina might be fixing up with our Alexa.
Oh.
Yes, he's adorable. He's
awesome.
He's actually on the news. I don't want to say his name, but he's Greek, and he's in Greece right now. So he said when he came
wonderful.
back, he would reach out.
I love
So-
the symbolism of events like that in weddings. You know, the money and what's behind
money
it, the
and
colors
then-
you wear,
Oh,
and the
yeah.
things you do.
So
and
did your
it's really
husband
magnificent.
convert?
No.
He didn't have to.
No, he didn't. we got married in the Greek church, and it's a historical story of what happened there. But we're registered as a married couple in Greece. So I'm like, are we really married in the States? Because we didn't do anything here. I mean, we're registered in the books there, but we had to go through some extra paperwork to be married in the Greek church. We had to have in the Greek culture, in the Greek church, the maid of honor is the one who actually is part of the ceremony. So that person had to be a Greek Orthodox in order for
the maid of honor.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so cool. Well, Josh Weinstein, he actually converted.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So he did the dunk.
So he left Judaism in order to go into the Greek Orthodox Church?
Yes,
Wow.
he did. And now he wears a big giant cross.
That's amazing.
We love it. Love it. Yeah, he's Greek Orthodox now.
That's great.
Joshua Weinstein.
That's great.
Cousin Joshy.
Yeah.
So I didn't let go of my last name, and
Neither did Meredith.
Yeah, for me that was a cultural thing. It wasn't kind of a feminist, like it wasn't anything like that. It was a professional thing, right? But it was also a cultural thing because the Rosiers, that's my husband's name. That does not speak Greek. Like that doesn't
It's
tell
not who you
I'm
are.
Greek.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So everybody knows my ethnicity, my background, my culture when they hear my last name.
Exactly.
And I just didn't want to give that up.
Well, when I first, so I said to Joe when I first came, I'm like, should I be Pavlakis or Weinstein? I'm like, should I get 2 separate cards?
You
But
could hyphenate it. I mean, it's very long.
It's Stephanie Weinstein's
a lot of
long
letters.
enough.
Yeah.
And Pavlakis Weinstein just doesn't go, Angela.
How many letters is
Maybe
that?
if it was a double
I don't
Greek
know. I think
name.
it does, though. Stephanie Pavlakis Weinstein.
It's a lot.
It's a lot of letters.
It's too much for me to even say.
But it says a lot about your culture. Like if people see that
yeah.
your
You wouldn't have
name
to
says
say
so
it.
much,
They
right?
just
Right.
would see it on
And
a
it's funny,
card.
right? Because I really did grow up like a Greek Jew.
Yeah, I
Even though
love
I'm
it.
all Jewish, I really did. And we hung out with the Yomalakases in Cambridge, and we
the
went
what?
Yomalakases and the Papa Nice to See Yous. Oscar
Oh.
Papa Nice to See You was on the radio, and Oscar Papa Nice to See You had a big mustache, and the Pantazopoulos. I mean, that was my weekends hanging out with the Greeks.
That's hysterical.
Yeah, and eating all the Greek food. So,
Yeah.
That's the fans on the roof of the building, if you're wondering what
Ooh,
that
it
hum
sounds
is.
like a helicopter
Yeah.
landing.
Yeah.
So how did you come to your decision to keep your last name?
I just never wanted to change it. Was
well,
my
also,
identity.
yeah,
and-
Meredith has a big famous name in Easton.
Well, my family's been here for a few generations.
Yeah.
So, that certainly from a business standpoint too was important.
Yeah.
But
It's a great last name too.
it's a great last name. But
It's easy.
even before that, I just didn't, that's my identity. I never
Right.
wanted to change my identity. And I don't understand. It's not to disparage people changing
No,
their name.
it's
I just don't understand
Right.
why you would change your name.
and it's hard. It's hard to lose. It was hard
Yeah.
for me to lose my last name.
Yeah.
Even though I was Jewish and I really wasn't Greek and I had this Greek name.
Yeah.
And I felt almost it made more sense for me to be Stephanie Weinstein because I am very Jewish, I think.
Yeah.
So, but it was hard.
Well, and then there's a concern of family unit, right? And so
The kids, you mean?
yeah, people would say, well, your name is going to be different than your children. And I said, well, that's fine. Well, if somebody calls me by their last name, I'm not going to correct someone.
Now,
right?
some people give their kids the mother's maiden name, the middle name.
Well, that's,
Shay Keach.
right. Like different cultures do it differently. But I just have my own name. And quite honestly, in a business like ours and with social media and having a podcast, I don't ever put my children on social media. I never put their pictures there. I don't mention their name for a whole host of reasons. But when you're kind of, and I'm not famous, but when you're any type of public position, I never wanted my children to get recognized based on my social media presence.
Mm-hmm.
So they're in the grocery store and they say, oh, and know who that is without them really knowing. And so a little bit having a separate name is fine, right?
Yeah.
It's good for them.
Absolutely. Especially if you're a very visible type of personality. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And they create their own identity, and nothing that I do kind of impacts them, and from a safety standpoint for them as well. But I just
smart, Meredith, that you do that.
Yeah, well,
Like,
social media can be, it can be. You don't want to create someone's footprint for them,
Right.
in my opinion.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, right? Because everybody posts their kids, right?
Yeah.
The first day of school.
There's some people, I think there's a camp of like, do not post anything with my
Well, you know
but,
what?
but it's a
photo
very
on it.
small camp.
You know what furthered it was, do you remember, what was his name? God, he was the manager of the Red Sox. Begins with an E. The last name.
Epstein?
Was it Theo Epstein?
Theo.
Oh, yeah.
He's adorable.
Right? And a reporter
Is he
got a
single
hold
for
of his,
Alexa?
a reporter
Yeah.
got a hold of his mom.
Oh.
And she just talked and talked about her son. She was so proud of him. Only they printed all of it.
Oh.
And it was damaging to him.
Ooh.
And she didn't know. And that is another reason why I don't, because when you put it on the internet, it's there. People put in that their kid got sick or their kid broke their leg. That could impact them further in life when someone interviews them, or they're going for a position, or they're going for a team, and everything about them is on the internet. And there's nothing that person can do, that kid can do to control it.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, there's no damage control. There's nothing that they can do to bring that back. And I think that kids should be able to create their own
Absolutely.
when they're
Yeah.
ready and able to do it without me putting it out there that could negatively impact them. I mean, God forbid, you'd feel horrible. You're just trying to be proud of your kid and communicate to the world what's going on and family. And I totally understand that. But there's a dark side of that as well.
Depends. It's a personal decision, just like the
Totally.
last name
Yes.
thing.
Right.
Yes.
I do have a funny story about Theo Epstein, though. When I was single, and I got married late in life, I was single. I used to kind of, date, and there was this man that I started dating, and I wasn't very sure about kind of, whether I really wanted to be in a relationship with him or not. So he was trying everything
to impress you.
Yes. So he's like, let's go visit my family. We went up in New Hampshire somewhere, and I remember the punchline of Theo Epstein was his cousin. So I'm meeting him, and he's looking at me like very suspicious. I was like, "Hi!" I had no clue. I'm not into sports. I had no clue who he was. So,
Hey, what up?
met the family, the mother. They had this beautiful home. I forget what it was. It was all in the woods, up in the mountains. Somewhere. It was gorgeous, and so then I kind of came back, and I was telling my friends about the experience, and I was like, I say he's very nice. I don't know what his cousin does. I think he's in sports or something. And they're like, "What's his name?" And I told them, they were like, "What?" I'm not a sports person.
Angela's like, not impressed.
I wonder if you're a famous person like that, is that insulting or is it refreshing? What do you think?
So I could tell he was he was convinced I knew who he was, because I remember when he was looking at me almost like, "Are you trying to infiltrate?" kind of because
right.
And I'm like, "Buddy, I have no clue who you are."
Yeah, right.
So I think he loosened up afterwards, because he realized I had no clue who anybody was.
Right.
But I think it would be refreshing for folks to just have a real authentic, interaction.
Right.
Right.
I mean, they might not, it depends on their ego. They might not be, I'm assuming everybody's kind of like bending over backwards
Right.
to
Yeah.
impress them or whatever. So,
Yeah.
but they seem like very nice, genuine people, and
Grounded.
yeah.
I had gone on a listing appointment, and there was a famous athlete who is retired now. And he was like, if we list our house, how are you going to like keep this a secret? Keep all the people away. I'm like, oh, you don't have to worry. I said, I'm just going to do business as usual. I said, nobody's going to know this is your house.
Right.
Unless I say something, which I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's actually interesting, because it can become very delicate in that if it's a public personality or somebody who's like a very high net worth kind of person, right? And PR loves, the newspapers love to run blogs.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
But you're all kind of, your job it was one of guarding the secrets, right? It's a very integrity kind of trust-filled position. So you gave the right answer, obviously. Yeah.
But, the thing is, the buyers can look up anything they want, right?
Right.
And they often know more about the house when I'm taking buyers out than I do. They're like, so-and-so bought this, then they sold it, then they made this much money, and then they bought it, and they're trying to make $200,000. They haven't even done any renovations to this house. Who do they think they are?
Or I was with my son recently driving to take him to practice. And I said, oh, there was a double homicide in that house. And he was like, why did you just tell me that?
That's what Meredith does. She throws these things. Angela, she did this to me. I was selling a house in Easton, and she goes, oh, that one? She goes, oh, rumor has it a priest hung himself on the 3rd floor. And I'm like, you know what, Meredith? She's like, legend has it. I said, why would you tell me that? So I had to sit with it. And I'm like, I got to tell my buyers. I said, because I can't sit with this information. So I'm like, you guys.
They would have found out from the neighbors.
I said, Meredith told me about this urban legend about the priest. A priest hung himself on the 3rd floor of this house. And they're like, oh, we don't care. I'm like, oh.
And the truth is about old homes like that, it
Right.
totally could be make-believe.
Right.
Yeah, really.
Look, if you have a house built in the 1800s,
Something
chances
happened.
are
Something happened. Someone died in that house. And it was probably a murder.
Speaking of, can we talk about Newport?
Yeah.
So I went to Newport last weekend and totally forgot about how amazing in respect to their historical homes it is. We just walked one street after another of house built 1700, 1710, 1740. It was, oh my God.
Meredith has now become a member of what?
The Newport Preservation Society.
Really?
Yes.
Do you
Yes.
She
have
immediately
any-
joined.
Do you have any connection to Newport? other
Zero.
than-
Well, I mean, I've gone there,
Yeah.
you know, my whole life, but I just haven't been since having kids. You know, I lived down there when my girlfriend
Okay.
father grew
So
up
you did
down
have-
there.
you do
Oh
have
yeah.
connection. Yeah.
But and you just, you know, when you separate from an area, you just kind of forget. I forgot how rich in history Newport is. And going around with my girlfriend Colleen, who it's her favorite place, and every time she goes, they go for overnights and they go for vacations there. She just absorbs the history. So walking around with her, she would say, "Oh, notice on the front steps of these 3 homes because the British took it when they occupied them."
Oh, I love it. We
in
should
the
get her
past 3
license.
years.
Who is she?
Right?
You have to introduce her to me.
She actually is a real estate agent.
Yes, and she did work for Coldwell Banker. Yeah, so it was a blast touring with her, and we would just go off and walk the streets. I took so many pictures, and of course toured the mansions, and then going into these boutique hotels that have been there, you know, since the 1800s. And then when you go up to the wharfs and you see these huge, you know, Oprah's boat or ship or
Was she
yacht,
really
whatever is there, and it's like, you know, it's not a town that's just money that was once there.
Oh my
there's
God,
still
yeah.
there's, you know, a lot of deep pockets there, and you walk amongst that. It's really cool. And even just when you're strolling around, people dress up a little bit, which is nice, you know, just to go to lunch and walk the shops. And there's so many more shops there than I've ever seen. And it goes deep down into Thames Street now, where they kind of would stop at a certain point, but you can just keep going, and so many restaurants. And then at night it was lit up beautifully, you know.
It's amazing. It's
Oh,
gorgeous.
God.
My favorite place, we should go one time. It's Cafe at the Chandler.
Let's go.
Okay, so we
Like,
pulled
like
up to have
love.
lunch on Sunday,
Love.
and so the gentleman comes out, and you know, we said, "Are you serving lunch?" And he said, "Ordinarily, yes, but I don't think we're open right now because we had a wedding." And we're like, "Okay." He goes, "Let me check." He goes, "I think it's 1." And then he came back out and said, "We're not open until 5." And we were like, "Oh my God, it must have been some wedding." And he said it was.
Oh, yeah.
And they were pulling down the tents, and so those folks had 2 days of a wedding, basically,
At the
this
Chandler?
place. At the Chandler. I can only
Wow.
imagine. We
Like
went up
the
to
room.
Castle Hill.
Yeah.
Holy
Right.
cow. It's just, it's such a beautiful place that if people haven't gone. But, you know, we walked down the cliff walk, and half the cliff walk is
Yeah, eroding.
It's gone.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
That was in the news several months ago.
Yeah. So I don't know. Are they
Oh.
going to open it back up? Or?
So yeah, there's a society, I think it might be connected to the Newport Preservation Society that are trying to raise money to kind of.
And Doris Duke started the Newport Preservation Society.
Who?
Doris Duke. So
Who's Doris?
so her family is of I think the Marlboro cigarettes.
Oh.
I think, if I remember correctly, but I might be wrong on that.
You should have.
I didn't go into her house yet.
Who?
You should have one of our Newport agents on the show, and you all can.
I would love that.
Let's
Yeah.
do it.
Well, Stephanie and I want to tour Brockton City Hall. So Stephanie and I are
Brockton
going
City Hall.
plan
I
that.
said to Meredith, when are we going on our
I'm
tour?
so excited.
I can't
We get to go
wait.
down in the basement in the catacombs, and
Is it a beautiful building?
Oh, it's magnificent.
Oh,
yeah.
really?
And there's beautiful artwork. Yeah.
wow.
It's a really cool building. So, and it was closed, or so much of it anyway, during the last couple of years with the COVID lockdowns. So now it's all opened up, and
Meredith fills her name out for every single raffle. Usually she wins a meat raffle. This time she won tour of Brockton City Hall.
That's the only thing I won. I had signed up for so many silent auction items. We had a whole bunch of events that I went to in May, and I won that and a police cruiser ride to school for my kids.
Really? That's awesome.
Yeah. Actually, I gotta sign them up for it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So I digress. Angela, tell us about the real estate market. What do you give us a little forecast? What are you thinking in our area, like Massachusetts?
Not Rhode Island. I'm kidding.
Why?
I'm kidding.
Okay. Yeah, I think everybody's very surprised about the demand that still is out there, because the government has been trying to, the Treasury has been trying to kind of decrease demand by increasing the interest rates constantly. Buyer demand is really strong. Investors they're exploring different avenues. Like that's why Rhode Island is kind of increasing so much in attention, because as an investor, you can, the rents are skyrocketing everywhere, but if you can buy lower and your rents are high, it's a tremendous opportunity. So we're seeing kind of an expansion of the investor's mindset for where to invest in properties, and in the higher end, it's kind of, being impacted a little bit more than in the lower price points. The reality is, in the years that just recently passed, there was so many multiple bids and so many people, like 35, 40 people trying to get into a property. Those people weren't getting the properties then, and they're not even in the market now, because, with the increase in the interest rates. So, but you still have FOMO, like fear of missing out. So buyers are still like, kind of, look, it's not going to go down in our area. I don't foresee, it's not a prediction, this is just an opinion.
I agree with you 100%.
And so people are like, look, interest rates eventually are going to come down, but price points are going to continue increasing. Yep. So people are like, we want a home. Yeah. And it's not like renting is a bargain. Right.
So,
no.
Or easy to find either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I feel like you really do need to buy now, because at the end of the day, when the interest rates go down, that house is going to be, more money now, because then you're going to be back to these crazy bids again. So you can buy now. Right?
Well, and it's a different story if you're an investor than if you're looking, for your primary residence or even a vacation home.
Meredith, remember we almost bought that condo?
Oh, I thought about it all weekend.
Why
yes,
didn't we
I
do
did.
that?
Because
we weren't ready.
I wasn't at a point. I had 3 young kids.
Right.
So it was a gorgeous condo that we looked at buying on
one of the buildings on the water. It was
not long.
What area?
Commercial Wharf.
Maybe.
Oh, you're talking Boston?
In Newport.
No, in Newport.
Oh, Newport.
Yeah, it was a condo, and we were thinking about, it was vacant, and we were going to buy it and split it, but neither one of us was ready at the time.
Well, we were a little bit,
How much would you
400. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Let's not talk about it, Meredith.
Well, I don't feel like it was a loss. No. I mean, really, at any point, if you're not ready for that, my kids were babies at that point. And I was like,
it's really amazing. My husband calls me a lamenter, because I started investing in Rhode Island specifically since 2012, and even being in the real estate market and knowing the neighborhoods that I wanted to invest in, the market accelerated so much. Yeah. And I mean, I'm in the real estate market up here. You're all kind of in the trenches. Yeah. So I would see some price points coming up that I was like, that's ridiculous. And then I should have bought, you know what I mean? I should have. Yeah. Now I'm like, what am I thinking? Yeah. But I mean, look, I'm old school. I grew up Greek. It was the philosophy was like, God is never going to make any more earth. So that is like the most solid investment.
And that's exactly what my father did. Yeah. He came to America without speaking English and immediately started buying 2 families and 3 families. Yeah. And then eventually an apartment building and then a gas station.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm from my personal investment, I'm a single family investor.
And what do you do with those properties? Do you keep them and rent them out?
Yes.
So I remember that woman we met, she did the same thing. That's exactly what she did. And she's collecting properties and she's fixing them up and she's renting them out.
It's so funny. I was speaking with one of my agents in Belmont, And we were going through her list because she was thinking about who would be ready to sell. And I saw a lot of Greek names. I said, why are we not talking about your Greek line? She goes, the Greeks buy and keep to rent. They never sell. I was like,
so true. That is so true. And there's like my father would fly home from Florida every month to collect his rents. I'm like, Dad, I can do it. You can't do it. And he'd be like, and then he'd key into people's apartments. Thank God he sold that. Yeah, that's a whole other story. What about Meredith and I were talking about Fall River? Because now the train's coming to Fall River, right?
I think New Bedford too.
Yep, New Bedford, Fall River. I mean, they have cobblestone walkways there, and they have fabulous restaurants, and it's on the water, and the train's coming now. So I think that's going to be
if you want to just go on a great little road trip, is go to the New Bedford Whaling Museum, because you're going to have to park in the historic area, and you walk through the cobblestone streets, and that in of itself, you're going to fall in love with New Bedford if you're into history.
I actually love. As an investor, I love it when people have preconceived notions of specific areas, because there's less competition for me.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So the area that I invested in Rhode Island, it's on the water, gorgeous, but it had a huge stigma because, now it's having its renaissance. But when I went in 2012, it still had a bad reputation. And for me, I don't have snobbery of brands or like I could care less if it makes sense for me. And it was so gorgeous to be by the water. So for me, I was like, this is heaven. Like, what do you like? Yeah. So yeah.
I see you, Adam. Usually Adam's like this. Now he's trying to be quiet.
Yeah. What part of Rhode Island?
Warwick. So Oakland Beach is a little area. It used to be a historic kind of area that in the 1800s, late 1800s, kind of the rich and famous from New York would go, from Boston, from Connecticut. There used to be actually a train from New York straight into that area. Wow. And up until recently, there were 2 hurricanes that kind of devastated the area. That's when it kind of went to disrepair. But I became a history buff in kind of collecting. I have digitally hundreds of postcards that show what the area used to be like.
Oh, right? Very cool.
So the homes that you own, are they antiques?
So I bought every single property that I bought, should have been pretty much torn down, right? Okay. So, and that was the opportunity. I'm not scared of, construction and kind of rejuvenating a property. So only one did I tear down, the one that I use now. Did I tear down and build new, but all the other ones completely rehabbed them. And they're little adorable cottages. And for me, if I make decisions on investments, I will never, I shouldn't say never, I don't make decisions on cash cow properties. Where with STAMOULOS, cash cow, multifamily, not the property for me.
Right.
Yeah. I want, for me, I look at the structure of the home. Is the layout livable? So somebody that tenants would kind of feel comfortable living there. And is the area, I always think about, would I live in this type of property? Mm-hmm. I look at the surrounding homes, the area. Is somebody going to feel safe there? Is somebody going to feel like it's a place that they want to call home? And I didn't want the extra thing of having the two or three families. I didn't want the impact to the tenants or having to manage that. That's a person. Most people believe in 2 to 3 families. For me, it's just I have more control of creating the environment that will match my tenant. So that's
I love it.
I think should we buy?
Family, well, Sam and I were talking about that. I've been looking at. I've wanted to be an investor for a long time, and I just haven't done it because I always thought I'd do a multi, and then it doesn't fit my personality.
No,
it just
doesn't.
doesn't.
Not a multi.
I'm not a multi investor, but single family home, yes,
right.
For all the reasons you just illustrated,
right?
Yeah, but it's risky, right? Because if your tenant doesn't pay, then you get that whole thing. But if you own multiple of them, you can
All right, you girls, Adam's getting spilkies in his Connecticut voice. It's time we wrap up this party. Angela, did you have fun?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good.
I loved it. This is
okay, good. You'll have to come back, and we'll have Ken on and Pauline. It's going to be a big party.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Angela.
I'm
You're the
Meredith
best.
Keach.
We love you. I'm Stephanie Weinstein.
Angela Stamoulos.
Stamoulos.
Yay, Angela. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
I buy property dependent